What's up YouTube? John back with another video today. I wanted to discuss one of my favorite nostalgic X-Men arcs from the 90s from my childhood, Executioner Song. Gonna kind of be going over the plot of Executioner Song, some original art I was fortunate enough to own from the story arc as well. So for those that haven't read Executioner's Song, this was a 12-part crossover through the X titles. Back then it was Uncanny X-Men, X-Force, X-Factor, and Xmen. This it ran through 1992 to 1993, and it was shortly after the exodus of the Image founding fathers. So essentially, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane went and formed Image, and then there were new creators taking over the X titles. So here for Executioner Song, it was shared artist responsibilities by Jae Lee, Greg Capullo, Brandon Peterson, and Andy Kubert. So basically, the premise was Strife, the clone of Cable, under the guise of Cable, attempted to assassinate Professor X. So that led a manhunt for Cable as well as his team X-Force by both the gold and blue teams of the X-Men back then as well as X-Factor. And this arc was pretty fun because it had all the major characters involved. You had Strife with his Mutant Liberation Front. You had Apocalypse with his Four Horsemen and Dark Riders. You had Mr. Sinister in there as well, kind of, with his own intentions, but working with Strife. And then you have all the X teams. So X-Factor, X-Force, Uncanny X-Men, which was the gold team, and then the X-Men, which was the blue team. And it was kind of like all around battle royale. So here I just want to show you, this is original pencils. This was supposed to be the opening title page for X-Force 16. And this is done by Greg Capullo. This was actually unpublished, and they actually went with this part right here. 1 second. They actually went with this spread for the beginning of chapter 4, rather than the Capullos. Basically, if you note, and I actually kept the original pencils and asked Mark Morales, one of my favorite inkers, to kind of ink over blue lines. So the interesting part is it's essentially featuring most of the same characters. It's just a different perspective. I personally prefer Wolverine versus Shatterstar front and center. And then you do see kind of Gambit getting in with Wolfsbane in the back versus the original published page. You have Gambit and Wolfsbane in the front. And then you have Wolverine and Shatterstar kind of more in the background. But, Greg Capullo, this was early work before he went on his awesome run with Spawn, and then now the New 52 with Scott Snyder and the Court of Owls. But, you could see back then, very talented. Look at it. Rendition of Gambit, Havoc, Strong Guy, Wolfsbane, Polaris. You got the X-Force members. Cannonball, Shatterstar, and then you have Multiple Man and Rane from X Factor. And one of the fun things about this arc, the battles took place everywhere. They fought on the moon, a lot of different settings, and then Mark Morales did an awesome job inking it as well. But yeah, so I mentioned Greg Capullo, and also Andy Kubert also worked on this run, one of my favorite X-Men artists. And I mentioned Dark Riders were involved in it. And, this plot, Dark Riders and Apocalypse motto is always survival of the fittest. So in this plot, actually, Strife, he seeks revenge on everybody, basically, going after Cyclops and Jean Grey, blaming them for, sending them in the future. And then Strife attacks Apocalypse, and he beats Apocalypse. Apocalypse barely escaped, and the Dark Riders started working with Strife because their motto is survival of the fittest. So this is a pretty cool splash of the Dark Riders, 9 mutants. Forget all the names. I know there's Synapse. Gauntlet is kind of the head guy. You got Foxbat, Tusk. Is that Hard Drive? I forgot the names of the other minor members. But happy to see kind of these Egyptian ties. Always love Apocalypse Egyptian ties, but this is kind of art by Andy Kubert as well. And then let me share the published spread of that. There you go. There you go. There's the published color of that. And essentially, the X-Men, they do rescue Cyclops and Jean Grey, who were kidnapped on the moon with Strife. And kind of one of my favorite pieces, I would say, the term Grail is kind of thrown around, but definitely one of my, if I were to say there's multiple Grails, one of my Grails in my collection would be this page right here by Jae Lee and inks by Al Milgrom. This is actually a page from X Factor 86. It's this issue. Still in the poly bag. This is part 10. Jae Lee, prime early Jae Lee, loved his unique style. And I remember these polybag issues used to have cards in the back, and this is the Dark Riders card. But not only is this kind of epic rendition of Strife, it would be also used as the image to the trade paperback as well. Let's see if I can show you. Here we go. And the actual published page with that spread. There we go, right here. Well. Isn't that cozy? Kind of love the silhouette of Cyclops and Jean Grey. But, for those who never read it, definitely worth checking out. I think probably in my top 5 X-Men story arcs of all time. I'm definitely kind of more biased towards the late 80s, early 90s, and even early 2000s story arcs, but worth checking it out. Thanks for taking time to watch the video. Take care. Bye.